Chapter 1. The Birthday Silence. I didn't expect balloons or streamers. I'm not 12, but I guess I expected something. A text, maybe. A call. Even one of those half-effort Facebook posts with a blurry picture from 10 years ago and a heart emoji. I would have taken that. But what I got was silence. It was my 40th birthday. A Tuesday. Nothing magical about it. I still packed lunches, dropped off my kids, went to work, answered emails, shelved biographies at the library, said thank you to the man who always returns his books late and tells me it's because real life is a spoiler. I smiled. I always smile. But I kept waiting. Every time my phone buzzed, I let a little hope rise. Maybe this is it. Maybe Clara remembered. Maybe Mom. Maybe Eli. Nope. School newsletter. Weather alert. Junk. Around noon, the library desk phone rang. Mom? It was Ellie, my daughter. Did you see the surprise? I told my boss I needed to step out, took an early break, and drove home. On the kitchen table, a construction paper crown, a white mug with best mom ever in smeared marker, and a birthday card made from folded notebook paper. Ellie had drawn me as a superhero with a purple cape. Milo, my son, made a pyramid of toaster waffles with a single candle in the middle. He even lit it. They sang loud and off-key. Milo added beatboxing. I laughed. Then I cried. Tried not to. But Ellie noticed. She hugged me hard around the middle and said, "It's okay to be a little sad on your birthday, but not too much." Then she asked, "Is Grandma coming later?" I lied. She's busy with work. Grandma retired last year. I went back to work and shelved books like it didn't matter. The silence stretched into the evening. No texts, no missed calls, no surprise visit. Just dishes in the sink, backpacks by the door, and lights out at 9. Then the next morning, at 8:12 a.m., Clara struck. Group text. "Hey fam, big news! Me and Cal are doing our 10-year anniversary party at the Lakehouse next weekend. Lake vibes plus food friends is epic. Bring a dish and let's make it amazing. P.S. If everyone can Venmo me $150 by Friday for catering, that'd be awesome. Love you all." No mention of my birthday. Not even a belated oops tacked on. Just a casual party announcement, like the Lakehouse was a community center and I was the janitor. The Lakehouse. My Lakehouse. Or at least a quarter mine. Half, depending on who you asked and who was paying taxes that year. It had been Grandpa's. He built it in the 60s with his bare hands and a radio playing ball games in the background. After he died, it sat empty for years. Everyone agreed it was too much work. The deck was rotted. The roof leaked. There were raccoons in the attic. No one lifted a finger. Until I did. I spent an entire summer dragging my kids up there on weekends. Fixed the plumbing, sanded the floors, rebuilt the dock, bought new furniture off Craigslist, and scrubbed it clean with vinegar and elbow grease. I paid for the contractor, paid for the new roof, paid the property taxes 3 years in a row when Eli forgot. Clara posted dreamy sunset photos and tagged it #family-retreat like it was hers. Eli called it our little legacy. Every time he needed to impress someone on a date, they didn't ask if I was okay with hosting a party there. They just assumed I'd say yes, like I always do. I looked at the text for a long time, read it twice. Then I opened Venmo. Her name popped up instantly, saved as Clara because she once took my phone and added it herself. I entered $1 and 1 cents. In the note field, I typed, "This is what I have left for you." I thought about adding more, about reminding her of the time I loaned her $800 for business expenses that turned out to be balloon arches and branded cupcakes for a photo shoot. Or the summer she forgot to feed the dog while I was at the Lakehouse fixing the water heater. And when I called her out, she said, "You should have left better instructions." But I didn't add any of that. Just the one line. "This is what I have left for you." Then I hit send. Blocked her number. Then Mom's. Then Eli's. Then the whole damn group chat. I sat on the porch that night with a blanket and a beer, watching the porch light flicker on like it does every night, 10 seconds too early, like it can't quite wait for darkness. The neighborhood was quiet. Crickets, distant tires on pavement, my son's Lego bricks clinking as he cleaned them up before bed. It felt good. Not in a revenge kind of way. Just clean. The only thing my family gave me this year was the confirmation that I was invisible, until they needed something. Then suddenly, I was so easy to remember. I used to tell myself they just forgot because they were busy. But that's not true. They didn't forget. They just didn't think it mattered. Chapter 2. 1 cent and Slap. The day after I sent Clara that 1 cent, the quiet was heavier than before. Not ominous, just still. Like a house settling after years of being walked through too loud. My phone, usually alive with the family group chat, stayed silent. I didn't miss it. I thought I would. I didn't. That morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds and the smell of cereal filled the kitchen. Ellie had poured bowls for both herself and Milo. She even wiped up the milk he always spills. She didn't ask why Grandma didn't call. Didn't ask if Aunt Clara was mad. She just handed me a folded note that said, "You're the best even when you're tired," and went to find her shoes. I carried that note in my coat pocket all day. Still do. By noon, Clara sent a Venmo request from her backup account. She'd labeled it emergency only. $200. No message, just the number. I declined it. Not ignored, declined. 2 minutes later, my work phone rang. Unknown number. Straight to voicemail. Eli, hey, I heard Clara's kind of freaking out. I don't know what happened, but can you just, talk to her? She said you went nuclear. I mean, it's just a party. He sounded groggy, or stoned, probably both. His voicemails always sound like they were meant for someone else. I deleted it. Later, Clara tried again. New number, new tone. Are you seriously going to be this petty over a birthday? No signature, just the usual shrug disguised as a sentence. Then, minutes later, we're using the Lakehouse. Everyone's coming. Don't make this weird. That one made me laugh. Not a loud laugh. One of those low, exhausted ones that feels more like air leaving your body than joy. They thought I wouldn't push back, that I'd mutter something about boundaries and eventually say yes like I always did. But something in me had shifted. Not louder, clearer. There's a line in a book I shelve every month. Silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of everything you've never said. That's what this was. Not rage, not a tantrum. Just me, finally standing after years of sitting down quietly. That night, I pulled out the old file folder from the back of my closet. It held everything. The Lakehouse deed, copies of utility bills, the family emergency fund paperwork I'd opened 5 years ago when Dad had his health scare. We were all supposed to contribute $100 a month. We all agreed. Only I followed through. Clara never sent $1. Eli forgot after 2 months. Mom and Dad meant to, but things were tight. And still, it became their lifeline. When Eli's car got repossessed, the fund saved him. When Clara needed a deposit for her retreat space, the fund covered it. When Mom's roof caved in and Dad didn't want to deal with contractors, guess who? The account didn't just hold money, it held my silence. Every deposit was a swallowed feeling, a buttoned lip, a nod instead of a no. That account had just under $18,950 in it as of Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, it had dollars. I closed it, moved every dollar into a private account with my name only. Didn't spend a cent. I just wanted it somewhere they couldn't reach. Friday, I made calls. Mark, the lake rental guy, he managed bookings for short-term stays around the Lakehouse. Mark, I said, flag the cabin as unavailable this weekend. Family issue. Possible legal tie-up. He said, got it, and that was that. Then I called the utility companies, maintenance order on the water line, temporary gas shut-off. Just enough red tape to make everything inconvenient. Not illegal, just unappealing. By the time the sun set, the Lakehouse was off-grid and locked up. I wasn't being cruel. I was drawing a boundary. Saturday morning, 10:42 a.m. Text from an unfamiliar number. Why is there a lock on the gate? People are arriving. 10 minutes later, you can't be serious. We have catering. Guests came from 3 hours away. Lisa is crying. Still no apology. Just chaos disguised as urgency. I put my phone down and went outside. The air smelled like damp leaves. Ellie and Milo were building a fort from raked piles, collapsing into them again and again like laughter was their only currency. My neighbor across the street waved and asked if we were free for pizza that night. I said we were. By noon, my mom chimed in. Catherine, fix this. This is Jake and Lisa's special day. Please be the bigger person. The bigger person. Always me. The one who loaned money with no questions. The one who rearranged her life for everyone else's emergencies. The one who was easier to lean on than appreciate. Being the bigger person had never protected me. It only made me easier to climb over. That night, I sat on the porch wrapped in my blanket, holding a beer that had gone flat hours before. The porch light buzzed, flicked on. 10 seconds early, as always, like it couldn't stand waiting for the dark. Another message from Clara. You made Lisa cry. Hope it was worth it. No punctuation. No smiley face. Just another attempt at guilt with glitter scraped off. I stared at it, then typed a reply. Tell Lisa I hope she had a great party. Maybe next time ask before booking a venue you don't own. Then I deleted it, closed the app, left the beer on the railing, went inside to kiss my kids goodnight. By morning, I had 5 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and 1 email from my mother. Subject line, this is not you. The body was long, wordy, full of question marks and passive apologies. Why are you doing this? We're family. Clara was just excited. It's only a party. You're not like this. She was right. I wasn't like this. Not before. I read it over a cup of coffee that had gone cold while I read the same sentence 4 times. Milo was humming in the next room, building something complicated with Legos. Ellie was drawing again. She held up a picture of our dog. And in the corner, she'd written in big block letters, our family. Just that. No names, no borders, just the truth as she saw it. I didn't write back. Chapter 3, Anniversary Ambush. By Wednesday, the silence had thickened. It was less an absence of sound and more a tangible presence, like fog rolling quietly in, settling on everything. The kids felt it, even if they couldn't name it. Ellie hugged me a little longer before school. Milo kept glancing my way when he thought I wasn't looking, checking to see if I was still there. Still me. My mother hadn't texted again. No more messages from Clara. Eli had vanished into his usual silence. Maybe they thought this was temporary, just another quiet rebellion they'd wait out. But this wasn't temporary. I knew it with each steady heartbeat every time I resisted the temptation to unblock them. The silence had become deliberate. It was a choice. Friday morning, 2 days before Clara's anniversary celebration at the Lakehouse, I received a voicemail from Mark. Heads up, Catherine. A woman named Clara called me 3 times yesterday. Insists there's some mistake. Swears she has authorization. Figured you'd want to know. I smiled faintly as I listened, picturing Clara's frustrated disbelief at hearing no for perhaps the first time in her life. Then I deleted the message without replying. By Friday evening, my phone buzzed relentlessly from unfamiliar numbers. I stopped reading after the first few messages. Variations of guilt, urgency, disbelief, not one containing the word sorry, all asking for explanations, but none asking how I was. I left my phone charging in the kitchen drawer. Ellie watched me curiously as I put it away. Are you mad at someone? She asked softly. No, honey, just done being easy to reach. She nodded, as if she understood perfectly. Saturday, the day of Clara's party, the texts intensified, then abruptly stopped around noon. Perhaps they'd realized I wasn't budging or found somewhere else to panic. It wasn't until later, wandering through the supermarket picking up popcorn for movie night, that I discovered the truth. I ran into Lisa's mother, Margaret, near frozen foods. Catherine! Her voice was overly bright, forced casualness layered over discomfort. Heard things got complicated at the Lakehouse? Oh? My voice stayed carefully neutral. She leaned closer, as though sharing a secret rather than family drama beside frozen peas. The guests showed up to find the place completely shut down. No water, no gas, locked gates. Clara was beside herself. Really? I reached calmly for microwave popcorn, pretending to consider brands. It was chaos, Margaret continued. Clara had to move everything to your mom's backyard. You can imagine how thrilled everyone was about that. Poor Lisa, in tears the entire time. And Jake, too proud to admit the day was ruined. Sounds tough, I replied evenly. I imagined it vividly. The cramped yard, mismatched lawn furniture, damp grass, no perfect sunset views for Clara's Instagram feed. Hope they managed okay. Margaret studied me, unsure if I was sincere or subtly cruel. I offered a polite smile, paid for my popcorn, and left. At home, the kids and I piled onto the couch. Milo picked the movie, an animated favorite we'd seen 100 times. Yet tonight, even the cheerful songs and familiar jokes couldn't distract me fully. My mind drifted back to Clara, forced to reckon with the reality she'd long ignored, that her plans depended entirely on my silent cooperation. When I tucked the kids into bed, Milo asked sleepily, "Is Grandma still busy?" "Yes," I whispered, kissing his forehead. "Maybe for a long time." He sighed, drifting into dreams. Ellie lay awake, watching me. "Is that okay?" she asked gently. I paused, then answered honestly. "Yeah, it has to be." I sat alone afterward, the TV off, the house quiet save for faint traffic outside. My thoughts circled Clara, Jake, Lisa, Mom, Dad, and Eli. I pictured them crowded on our parents' uneven lawn, improvising smiles, pretending nothing had changed. I wondered if they were angry. Probably. But mostly I wondered if any of them finally understood. Sunday morning was quiet. The kids slept late, leaving me alone with coffee and silence. I took Ellie's note from my pocket again, running my thumb over the crayon letters. You're the best even when you're tired. But I wasn't tired now. For the first time in years, I felt wide awake. Later, my father called from an unfamiliar number. I answered hesitantly. Hi, Dad. He exhaled deeply. Catherine, wasn't sure you'd answer. I almost didn't. He paused. Can we talk? We're talking. I mean face to face. Another pause. Please. I almost said no, but something fragile in his voice stopped me. Okay, I agreed finally. Just you. We met at a cafe later. He looked older somehow, shoulders slumped, eyes tired. I felt a pang of guilt, then pushed it away. This wasn't cruelty, it was honesty. He spoke first. We've let you down, haven't we? I nodded slowly. For a long time. Your mother and I, he began, faltering. We always counted on you to handle things. We didn't realize how unfair that was. You didn't want to realize it, I corrected gently. He accepted the truth quietly. Your siblings, they're upset. Clara, especially, says she feels blindsided. She wasn't blindsided, I said softly. She was just surprised I finally said no. He looked down, studying his hands. What happens now? I don't know, I admitted honestly. But we can't go back. I can't be that person anymore, the one everyone forgets until they need something. He nodded slowly. I understand. I'm sorry, Catherine. The words were simple, quiet, but they filled something hollow inside me. I didn't fully trust them, not yet, but they were a start. After he left, I lingered at the cafe, sipping cold coffee. Outside, life moved on, unaware of small revolutions unfolding quietly in Sunday afternoon coffee shops. At home, Ellie and Milo laughed in the yard, tossing a ball back and forth. They waved brightly when they saw me. I waved back, smiling. The fog had lifted, not completely, but enough for sunlight to break through. And I realized something important. I didn't need their approval to feel whole. I didn't need their silence or their noise. I was enough. Chapter 4. Recalculations. The days following the meeting with Dad felt softer somehow. It wasn't peace exactly, more like the careful quiet after a storm has finally moved on, leaving you wary, waiting to see if it's safe to step outside again. The difference was subtle, but real. Ellie seemed lighter. Milo laughed more freely. And I was cautiously hopeful. For the first time in recent memory, I felt seen, even if it was only by myself. The silence from the rest of the family lingered, but now it felt like breathing room rather than suffocation. On Wednesday afternoon, Clara reached out again from a new number. Her message was brief and subdued. Can we talk? Just us? I stared at the screen for several long minutes, deciding whether to ignore it or respond. Finally, I replied with a single word, sure. We met the next day at a small diner on the edge of town, a place neutral enough to feel safe. Clara was already there, waiting nervously in a corner booth. Without makeup, she looked younger and somehow more vulnerable. For a moment, I saw her as the younger sister I'd protected and indulged for years, rather than the entitled stranger she'd become. Hi, she began quietly, twisting the edge of a napkin in her hands. Hi. I slid into the booth, careful to keep my posture relaxed. You wanted to talk. She nodded, eyes dropping to the table. I didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't. She smiled faintly, a shadow of her usual brightness. Fair enough. She inhaled deeply. I messed up, badly. Yes, I agreed gently, not giving her an inch. I'm not here to defend myself or make excuses. I realized something last weekend, something I should have seen years ago. Her voice trembled. I've taken you for granted, always expecting you to be there to fix things, and when you weren't, it shocked me. It hurt, but I deserved it. Clara, you hurt me, I said quietly. You all did, for years. I know. Her voice broke slightly, but she steadied it. I'm sorry, Catherine, truly sorry. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I studied her, searching for sincerity beneath her carefully composed expression. It was there, raw and unguarded. For the first time, she wasn't hiding behind charm or excuses. Thank you, I finally said, and meant it. That's a start. Relief flashed briefly across her face. I'm going to make it right. Not overnight, but I will. If you'll let me. I don't know yet, I admitted honestly. I'm worried this could be temporary, that you'll all slip back into old patterns, but I'm willing to see where this goes. Slowly. Slowly, she agreed immediately. I understand. We sat quietly for a few moments, absorbing the fragile truce we'd managed to forge. Finally, Clara broke the silence. Mom misses you. Does she? My voice held more doubt than I'd intended. Clara nodded, eyes softening. She's not good at apologies, but I think she's starting to understand what she's done, what we've all done. I hope so, I said gently, because I won't accept less. I know, Clara sighed, leaning back against the booth. Dad's different now. Quieter. He stood up for you after the party. Told Mom and Eli they needed to see things clearly. Eli, she hesitated, choosing her words carefully. He's Eli, but I think even he's aware something shifted. I nodded slowly, taking it in. Things had to shift. We couldn't keep pretending. No, Clara agreed quietly. We couldn't. We left the diner shortly afterward, exchanging a cautious hug in the parking lot. It felt strange, tentative, but not unwelcome. Clara promised to stay in touch without expectations. I promised to answer honestly. Back home, life continued to slowly recalibrate. Ellie and Milo began to talk openly about family again, testing the waters carefully. Is Aunt Clara coming for Thanksgiving? Ellie asked one night as we set the dinner table. I don't know yet, I answered honestly, placing forks beside the plates. Would you like her to? Ellie considered, brow furrowed in thought. Maybe, if she says sorry and means it. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. Me too. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I took a long look around our home. It was the same, yet different. Fuller somehow, more hours than it had ever been. There was still distance, still caution, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. I thought about Clara's apology, about my father's quiet acknowledgement, about the careful possibility that we might find a new way forward, even if it wasn't easy. The boundaries I'd drawn felt firm but flexible, not walls but doorways that could open slowly, carefully when I was ready. As I sat quietly, listening to the soft breathing of my children down the hall, I realized something fundamental had changed, not just in my family, but within me. I was no longer defined by their needs, their expectations, their silences. Instead, I was starting to define myself. And that, perhaps, was the greatest recalculation of all. Chapter 5. Boundaries and Bridges. As Thanksgiving approached, my cautious optimism held firm, even though anxiety simmered quietly beneath the surface. Clara and I had exchanged a few careful texts, each message brief but meaningful, each word chosen deliberately. My father had called once, just to check in, offering no demands, only genuine interest in my day. Mom stayed quiet, but Eli surprised me with a short, awkward message. Hey, Kat, can we talk soon? It was more effort than I'd expected from him, so I replied simply, when you're ready, I'm here. On the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Mom finally called. My stomach twisted as her name flashed across the screen, but I answered calmly. Catherine? Her voice was softer than I remembered, less certain. Hi, Mom. I kept my voice neutral, waiting for her to continue. She paused, the silence stretching between us before she exhaled slowly. I don't know where to start. Start wherever feels right, I offered gently. She hesitated again, her voice catching slightly. I didn't realize how much we'd leaned on you. How much I had leaned on you. I suppose I didn't want to see it. You were always there, always strong. It was easier not to notice the burden we placed on you. It was easier for you, I corrected softly, but not for me. I know, she acknowledged quietly. And I'm sorry, Catherine. More sorry than I can express. Thank you, I said simply, feeling my chest loosen slightly. I needed to hear that. Will you come tomorrow? Her voice was cautious, hopeful. Not to make everything perfect, just to start? Yes, I agreed after a pause. But I'm bringing my own boundaries. Things have changed. Of course, she agreed immediately. Whatever you need. Thanksgiving Day dawned bright and crisp. Ellie and Milo were cheerful and curious, sensing the cautious hope I carried with me. We drove over slowly, the familiar route feeling different now, carrying both memories and potential. Mom greeted us at the door, her eyes warm yet tentative. The house smelled like it always had, warm spices and roasting turkey, but the atmosphere felt charged with a cautious awareness. Dad offered me a quiet smile, squeezing my shoulder briefly. Clara was already there, chatting softly with Eli. They both looked up as we entered, expressions hopeful but uncertain. Clara came over immediately, hugging me carefully. Eli offered a gentle nod, murmuring, "Glad you came, Kat." Dinner started carefully, conversation polite yet guarded. As the meal progressed, the tension slowly gave way to genuine interaction. Mom asked Milo about his latest Lego creation, listening intently as he described every detail. Ellie proudly explained her recent art project to Clara, who praised her earnestly, eyes flickering to mine, seeking approval. Eventually, Eli broke the careful calm, clearing his throat softly. "I owe you an apology, Kat. I didn't see you clearly before. I didn't see any of us clearly." I looked at him directly, feeling the weight of his admission. "I appreciate you saying that." "I want things to change," he continued hesitantly. "With all of us." "They already have," I said gently, glancing around the table. "But it's going to take more than today. It's going to take work. Real work." "Agreed," Dad spoke firmly, his voice carrying quiet authority. "We can't go backward, only forward, together." Mom nodded, meeting my eyes. "We're willing to do that." "Then we'll see," I replied simply, a quiet promise hidden in my words. After dinner, as we cleaned up together, Clara touched my arm gently. "I meant it. I'm here, Catherine, if you want me to be." "I do," I admitted quietly. "But slowly, remember?" "Slowly," she echoed with a smile. Later, as the kids played outside and laughter filtered through the windows, I felt the beginning of something fragile yet promising. It wasn't perfect, perhaps it never would be, but it was genuine, grounded in truth rather than expectation. That night, as we drove home, Ellie spoke sleepily from the back seat. Today felt different. Better. "Yes," I agreed softly, glancing in the rearview mirror at their contented faces. It did. I knew challenges remained. Old habits lingered, and wounds didn't heal overnight. But tonight, as I tucked Ellie and Milo into bed, feeling their steady, peaceful breathing, I understood something important. I had built boundaries not to isolate myself, but to create space. Space for honesty, for healing, for true connection. And in the quiet darkness, I finally believed that bridges could still be built from the rubble of our past, one careful, intentional step at a time. Chapter 6. Rebuilding Home. In the weeks after Thanksgiving, our cautious truce began to deepen. It wasn't perfect. Some conversations still felt fragile, and silences occasionally stretched too long, but the sincerity behind our attempts was undeniable. Clara and I texted regularly, cautious messages gradually shifting into genuine conversations. She respected my pace, never pushing, never assuming. Eli, true to his promise, reached out occasionally, his efforts awkward but heartfelt. Each message he sent carried quiet humility, and I responded in kind, matching his careful honesty. Mom called once a week, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Our conversations weren't easy, but they were real, peeling away layers of resentment and misunderstanding built over years. Dad remained a steady presence, quietly supportive, bridging gaps with his understated strength. As Christmas approached, Ellie and Milo buzzed with excitement, sensing not just the holiday's joy, but also the careful healing within our family. One evening, as we decorated the tree, Milo paused, ornament in hand. "Are we seeing Grandma and Grandpa for Christmas?" he asked cautiously. I met his eyes, smiling gently. "Yes, they're coming here." Ellie's eyes lit up. "Aunt Clara and Uncle Eli too?" I nodded slowly. "Yes, we're inviting them all. But remember, it's going to be different. We're still finding our way." Christmas Day arrived softly, snowfall blanketing the neighborhood in quiet beauty. The house felt warm, inviting, filled with the scent of cinnamon and evergreen. My heart fluttered nervously as cars pulled into the driveway, but the sight of familiar faces eased my worry. Mom greeted me warmly, holding me a fraction longer than usual. "Thank you for having us, Catherine," she whispered sincerely. Dad hugged me, his embrace steady and reassuring. Eli entered with a shy smile, handing me a small gift carefully wrapped. Clara arrived last, carrying a tray of homemade cookies, her eyes hopeful. The day unfolded gently, conversation flowing naturally, laughter coming more easily. Clara listened intently as Ellie explained her favorite books, while Eli built Lego towers with Milo, sharing quiet smiles. Mom helped in the kitchen without stepping over boundaries, and Dad kept the atmosphere comfortable, joking softly, grounding us all. After dinner, as we gathered around the softly glowing tree, exchanging simple, thoughtful gifts, I realized something important. This wasn't merely about repairing old wounds. It was about creating something entirely new, built on honesty, understanding, and intentional kindness. As the evening wound down, Clara approached quietly. "Thank you, Catherine, for everything." "Thank you, too," I said sincerely, "for trying so hard." She squeezed my hand gently. "We're all learning." As everyone prepared to leave, Mom lingered at the door, meeting my eyes earnestly. Today felt good, really good. "Yes," I agreed softly, feeling the truth in my words. It did. When the house was quiet again, the kids tucked sleepily into bed. I sat alone by the dying embers of the fireplace, reflecting. The road ahead wasn't guaranteed to be smooth, but the foundation we'd begun to lay felt solid. We had survived the painful honesty required to confront our past, and now we were cautiously, intentionally rebuilding home, not as it once was, but as it could be. I felt lighter, stronger, more myself than ever before. And in that peaceful moment, I understood clearly. Home wasn't merely a place or people. It was the brave choice to heal, the courage to forgive, and the quiet strength to move forward together. Chapter 7. Finding Peace. Winter melted slowly into spring, carrying with it new growth, not only outside, but within us all. The boundaries I had carefully built became second nature, quietly respected, fostering genuine closeness instead of distance. Clara and I continued to talk regularly, our conversations deepening beyond cautious politeness into real, meaningful exchanges. Eli stayed true to his newfound sincerity, reaching out more frequently, his awkwardness gradually replaced by quiet confidence. Mom and I spoke easily now, our conversations filled with warmth and mutual respect. Dad remained a steadfast presence, anchoring us through any lingering uncertainties. One gentle afternoon in late March, I sat on the porch, savoring the warmth of sunlight filtering through new leaves. Ellie and Milo played nearby, their laughter weaving a joyful soundtrack through the peaceful air. My phone buzzed softly, and I glanced down to find a simple message from Clara. "Thinking of you today. Just wanted you to know." I smiled softly, replying easily, "Me too." Ellie wandered over, climbing onto the porch swing beside me. "Mom," she began thoughtfully, "are things better now, with Grandma and Grandpa and everyone?" I looked into her earnest eyes, reflecting before answering. "They are. It took work, patience, and a lot of honesty, but yes, things are better." "Good," she said with a satisfied nod, swinging her legs gently. "I like it this way." "Me too," I said warmly, pulling her close. Later, as evening settled softly over the neighborhood, Dad called, his voice calm and reassuring as always. "Your mom and I were wondering if you and the kids would like to join us for Sunday dinner this weekend?" I paused, smiling to myself. "We'd like that very much." The weekend arrived gently, and as we drove toward my parents' house, I noticed how different this journey felt compared to previous years. It wasn't tinged with anxiety or uncertainty, just quiet anticipation and peace. Dinner was warm, comfortable, full of easy laughter and relaxed conversation. Clara shared stories about work. Eli described his latest projects, and Mom listened attentively, her eyes shining with genuine pride. Dad sat back contentedly, quietly absorbing the joy around him. After dinner, Clara pulled me aside, her voice soft but sincere. "I'm grateful we got here, Catherine. Thank you for helping us find the way." I squeezed her hand gently. "We found it together." As dusk fell, we stood outside together, watching Ellie and Milo chase fireflies across the yard, their laughter bright against the quiet night. I felt the profound calm of knowing we'd come through the hardest parts, emerging stronger and more connected. That night, after tucking Ellie and Milo into bed, I sat alone in quiet reflection. The journey had been difficult, filled with pain and uncomfortable truths, yet every step had been necessary, leading to this place of quiet strength and genuine connection. I finally understood that peace wasn't the absence of conflict or pain. It was the courage to face them honestly, to heal openly, and to rebuild intentionally. As I closed my eyes, drifting into peaceful sleep, I knew with certainty that we had truly found our way home, not a place defined by walls or memories, but a feeling built on understanding, trust, and love. And in this newfound peace, I knew we would remain together.